So we've got quite a sizable hole here, folks, as you can see. It's quite a big piece of leather that we've cut out to do the demonstration on. You can see how big it is, in comparison to my finger. So that's what we're going to repair. So the first stage is you've got to get your backing fabric in, which is what we've got here, which is a piece of leather. And you're going to get it in so that the suede side is sticking up. And then obviously we're going to get some compound in there, some base compound in there. And we're going to heat cure that with the Teflon paper over the top, and then we're going to get in our final graining compound, and we're going to grain that with the grain pad that we've taken here, as you can clearly see. It's got a nice grain structure on it, which is very similar to that of this stressless chair. So, first of all, let's get the patch put in. You do not have to glue this in position, that's the beauty of it, because the product will actually grab the patch and bond to it, so it pulls it all together quite nicely. So that's the first stage. Next stage is to get some base repair compound going in there to get that filling up the hole. So we need to get that pushed in like so and get that spread around so it fills the hole up. Bit of a tricky thing to do. You can use your finger to do this as well if you wanted to spread it. So just get that pushed in first of all. Any excess that you get on the outside you can wipe up if you wanted. Just got to get that to spread like so. It's quite a thick sort of putty as this because it needs to form a base, obviously. So you might not get this in the first hit. You might have to take a couple of attempts to get this correct. So we just need to, any excess on the outside you can just scrape away. So the first time round we might not get this perfect. So we're just going to scrape off the excess here because this is where we're going to grain, obviously, on the outside. We just want this to bond really to begin with, to bond all the sides and everything together nicely. So that's got a nice sort of platform on there. Put the Teflon paper over it. As I say, this might not bond first time round. We might need to do a second go to refill that so that it fills nicely. You just need to move the heat iron around on the surface to make sure that it's curing that compound completely. You can, if you wanted to, use a hot air gun to do this, but you just got to be very careful that you do not get it too hot and that you don't burn the leather. So I mean, using the heat iron is a much better way around doing it, and that can then be cooled down with the cooling block by placing that over the top of it with the cooling block, which is basically a chunk of aluminium. It takes all the heat back out of the leather again so that you can continue to carry on going over and heat it up again to cure that. But you just need to make sure you get that cured first of all. You need to get it very, very hot. But the Teflon paper is protecting the leather so that the heat is curing the compound, but it's not actually harming the leather itself. So, I mean, it's quite a good method and a good way around doing it. But the compound's obviously quite thick that's gone in there, so you need to make sure that you get a good chunk of heat going on there. Get it really hot so it really cures that compound so it bonds properly. So we're going to have a look at the compound in a second. You might find that we need to put more of the compound in, as I say. But let's have a look first of all and see what it's like to see how it's come out at the moment. So that's what it's like at this moment in time. So that's cured. So put the cooling block on it. Let's get that cooled off. And then we can have a look at putting a second go on there just to fill up any sort of little imperfection areas. And then once we've done that, we're going to do the graining, put a bit of colour on there, and the hole has completely disappeared and it'll be very, very secure and safe. So let's just get a little bit more red compound into that corner, just into there, just to cure that slightly, and in there. And just down this edge, I think we need to get a little bit more down this edge. Like so. Perfect. It's quite a thick compound as this one because it's the base compound obviously to go in there. So just make sure you scrape the edges off, get that filled in, like so. And then again, straight over with the Teflon paper, making sure you've removed any excess. And again, proceed with the heat to cure that. Have your cooling block ready as well to keep cooling that down. Obviously, you've got to bear in mind with your fillers, they are heat cure fillers. So if you get them hot, they're obviously going to cure. So always put your lids on and keep your lids securely fastened at all times. So just keep moving that over the surface so that it cures that compound. And once that compound's cured, obviously it bonds to the fabric that we put in the back, it bonds to all the sides, and you create an extremely strong and very durable repair that's as flexible as the leather itself and will last years and years and years. It's a very strong, very durable repair that you're actually doing. And as I say, it is as flexible as the leather. That's what's so fantastic about it. So let's give that a cool down with the cool bar. And we'll just have a look to see what that looks like. So that's looking lovely on there now. So that's looking as it should do. So now what we're going to do is to put some of the second compound on there, which is what we're going to use to sort of create our grain. This actually gives us the grain. So just make sure that's on there nicely, evened out, so it's not too thick, because you just want enough so it grains in. That's all you need to try to achieve with this at this moment in time. Get your grain pad again, make sure the grain pad fits perfectly, so put it on there long ways like that. Teflon paper on there and cure that over. Have your cooling bar ready so that you can cool the leather down. Keep hold of one corner if you can, because you don't want your grain pad moving and creating a funny grain pattern on the surface. You just need to create the grain pattern in the one area so that it matches the rest of the leather. So just keep heating that up. Obviously this next compound is very thin, so it will cure pretty quickly. But we can put the cooling bar on there to take some of the heat out of the process, and then we can go again with a second time with heating that up again a second time. So I mean that should give us sufficient. That's taken virtually all the heat out, so we can go again, keeping hold of the Teflon paper so that it doesn't move, and we're making sure that we're curing all of this as we're going to create our grain pattern. So that hopefully should have cured the next material, which it has done. So we can now put the cooling block on there. Can get some paint ready, because we're going to use the LRC 14 strong black on there. And we're going to just put the paint over the surface, and you'll see that it will all just nicely disappear, and you can't actually see where the repair was done. And it's all perfectly grained. Give that a quick dry with the hairdryer. And as you can see, it's very, very flexible. Very, very flexible already. And there you have it. Perfectly repaired and very flexible, and the grain is absolutely amazing. And as I say, you can see it flexing there already, and that's a very, very flexible repair. As you can see, it's as flexible as the leather. It's absolutely brilliant. So there you have it, guys. Grain copying, that's exactly how you do it. That's exactly how you replicate the grain on a huge hole that was on the leather. And as you know, it was quite a big hole. That was the piece of leather that we cut out of there. So it's a big piece of leather. You know, it's quite a big chunk. To give you an idea on the front of your finger, that's how big it is. It's a big chunk of leather that we cut out. And that's the repair that we've done, completely invisible with a nice grain pattern to it, you know, as you can clearly see. Thank you very much.